Welcome, architects and engineers. Today, we delve into the high-stakes world of disaster recovery for large-scale Kubernetes environments. As our clusters grow to hundreds of nodes and thousands of pods, the blast radius of a single failure expands exponentially. A robust DR plan is no longer a luxury. It is a fundamental requirement for global business continuity. We are moving beyond simple backups and exploring sophisticated patterns for cross-region failover, stateful data replication, and automated orchestration. In this session, we will dissect how to maintain 99.99% availability even when entire cloud regions go dark. Our focus is on building resilient systems that can withstand catastrophic events while minimizing downtime and data loss. Let us begin by defining our core objectives and the architectural pillars that support an enterprise-grade DR strategy.
Before choosing tools, we must define our recovery time objective, RTO, and recovery point objective, RPO. RTO represents the maximum acceptable duration of a service outage. In high-scale systems, we often target an RTO of less than 4 hours. RPO defines the maximum age of files that must be recovered from backup storage for operations to resume. For critical financial or user data, an RPO of less than 15 minutes is standard. These metrics dictate your architecture. An active-passive setup might satisfy a higher RTO, but for zero downtime requirements, an active-active global distribution is necessary. Balancing these objectives against cost and complexity is the primary challenge for infrastructure engineers. We must align these technical targets with business impact analysis to ensure our DR spend is justified.
The soul of a Kubernetes cluster resides in its metadata and state, primarily stored in etcd. To recover a cluster, we must have a reliable strategy for backing up etcd snapshots and resource manifests. Tools like Velero are industry standards for this purpose, allowing us to capture the state of namespaces, deployments, and custom resource definitions. For large-scale environments, snapshots should be taken every 30 minutes and stored in geographically redundant object storage. Furthermore, we must ensure that our backup process includes the encryption keys and secrets necessary to decrypt data upon restoration. Without a consistent etcd backup, a cluster is just a collection of empty nodes. We must automate the verification of these backups to ensure they are not corrupted when we need them most. When designing for disaster recovery, we look at two primary patterns, active-passive and active-active. In an active-passive model, a secondary warm cluster waits in a different region. It remains idle or scaled down until a failover is triggered. This is cost-effective, but leads to higher RTO. Conversely, the active-active pattern involves multiple clusters across different regions, all serving traffic simultaneously. This provides the lowest RTO, as traffic is simply rerouted. For large-scale systems, we often see a hybrid approach, where critical services are active-active, while non-essential workloads follow an active-passive model. Choosing the right pattern depends on your budget and the criticality of your service. We will now analyze the load balancing requirements for these multi-region deployments.
Stateless applications are easy to recover. Stateful applications are the challenge. Persistent volumes, PVs, contain the data that must survive a regional failure. Standard Kubernetes PVs are bound to a single zone. To achieve disaster recovery, we must use storage solutions that support cross-region replication. This can be achieved at the storage layer, using managed services like AWS EBS snapshots replicated to another region, or at the application layer, using distributed databases like CockroachDB or Cassandra. The goal is to ensure that the data in Region B is at most 15 minutes behind Region A, aligning with our RPO. We must also consider the latency introduced by synchronous replication versus the data loss risks of asynchronous replication in our design.
Failover is only effective if your users can find the new endpoint. Global Server Load Balancing, GSLB, is the key. By using DNS-based routing or Anycast IP addresses, we can direct traffic based on health checks. If Region A fails, the GSLB detects the outage and updates DNS records to point to Region B. For large-scale clusters, we utilize solutions like Cloudflare, Akamai, or AWS Route 53, with health checks configured for every 10 to 30 seconds. This automation reduces the need for manual intervention during a crisis. It is vital to set low TTL, time to live, values on DNS records to ensure that the failover propagates quickly across the global internet. We will explore how these health checks integrate with Kubernetes ingress controllers. In a disaster, manual configuration is a recipe for error. GitOps provides a declarative way to manage disaster recovery. By using tools like Argo CD or Flux, we ensure that the state of our backup cluster matches our production cluster perfectly. Our infrastructure as code, or IAC, templates and Kubernetes manifests should be stored in a globally available Git repository. When a failover is initiated, the GitOps controller in the recovery region automatically pulls the latest configurations and begins deploying the necessary workloads. This pull-based synchronization ensures consistency and allows us to scale our recovery efforts with manual intervention. Automation is the only way to meet an RTO of less than 4 hours in a complex multi-service environment. A disaster recovery plan that has not been tested is not a plan. It is a hope. We must perform regular game day exercises where we intentionally take down a region to verify our failover logic. Chaos engineering tools like Chaos Mesh or Litmus Chaos can be used to simulate regional network partitions or storage failures. We should aim to conduct these drills at least once per quarter. By observing how our system reacts to simulated disasters, we can identify bottlenecks in our RTO and data gaps in our RPO. These tests build confidence in the engineering team and ensure that the automated systems we have built actually perform under pressure. Remember, the goal is to find the breaking points before a real disaster does. Disaster recovery is also a matter of compliance. Many industries, such as finance and healthcare, have strict regulations like SOC 2, HIPAA, or GDPR that mandate a proven DR strategy. We must ensure that our backup data is encrypted, both at rest and in transit. Furthermore, access to the recovery environment must be as strictly controlled as the production environment. Audit logs should capture every step of the recovery process to provide evidence of compliance during an audit. This includes logging who triggered the failover and what actions were taken by automated systems. Security must be baked into the DR plan from day one, ensuring that a disaster does not become a data breach as well. Of a disaster recovery plan for large-scale Kubernetes clusters. From defining RTO and RPO to implementing GitOps automation and cross-region replication, the focus remains on minimizing impact and maximizing resilience. As you design your strategy, remember that simplicity is often the best defense against complexity. Prioritize automation, test your assumptions through chaos engineering, and ensure your data replication is robust. As your infrastructure evolves, so should your DR plan. Continuous monitoring and regular updates to your recovery playbooks will ensure you are always ready for the unexpected. Thank you for your time, and go build systems that can withstand the storm.